Imagine a moment when every expert gives up, yet hope quietly walks in wearing a yellow jacket. This is the story of how an unexpected visitor changed a billionaire family forever. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Black Inside 2.0 for more heart-touching stories that open your mind and your heart. The room where time stood still. The morning light filtered softly through tall glass windows, falling over a room so elegant it looked like a page from a magazine. Gold accents, fresh flowers, carefully arranged curtains, everything radiating luxury. Yet despite all the beauty, the air felt heavy. On the grand bed rested an elderly woman whose presence normally filled the home with calm authority and gentle warmth. Today, however, she lay quietly, her breathing faint. Around her stood some of the city's most respected doctors, their faces lined with concern. They whispered between themselves, trying to hide their uncertainty. Machines hummed softly, blinking with numbers that seemed to shift every minute. But none of them carried the confident energy one would expect from people with years of knowledge. At the foot of the bed stood her son, a man known for his success, leadership, and unshakable confidence. He wore a suit that fit him perfectly, yet at that moment he seemed almost too small for his own shadow. His eyes remained fixed on his mother, silently begging the universe to give him a miracle. He had always believed that wealth could open doors to any solution. If something needed fixing, he could hire the best. If something required expertise, he could bring in the most experienced professionals. But today, all the resources in the world felt powerless, and that, more than anything, frightened him. A delivery that was never meant to be special. Meanwhile, far from the tension in the room, a young delivery worker rode toward the grand residence. His yellow jacket stood out against the clean city streets. He enjoyed riding his bicycle, feeling the wind on his face, something simple, something grounding. He didn't come from money, didn't own anything expensive, didn't carry any special certifications. But he carried something most people overlooked, a naturally warm heart. He treated every delivery with respect, as if he were delivering something valuable enough to change someone's whole day. Today's delivery slip read, urgent package, private residence. He had no idea who lived there or what the package meant. It was just another stop, or so he assumed. When he arrived at the mansion gates, he felt a sudden pressure inside his chest. Not fear, but the sense that something important was happening on the other side. A guard escorted him inside. The hallway felt endless, filled with art and polished floors that reflected his bright jacket. As he approached the main bedroom, he noticed the unusual number of people standing outside. Doctors, nurses, assistants, all waiting, all looking worried. He hesitated before knocking softly. A voice said, "Bring him in." The unexpected moment, when he stepped inside, the atmosphere immediately shifted in his mind. He felt the weight of emotion pressing through the walls of the room. He saw the elderly woman on the bed, her eyes half open, her breath shaky. But what struck him the most was the expression of her son. A mixture of worry, helplessness, and deep sadness. It was the look of someone who had spent his entire life solving problems, but now faced one he didn't know how to approach. "Sir," the delivery boy whispered, unsure. "I'm here with your package." The son barely looked at it. "Just leave it on the table." But as the delivery boy turned to leave, something unexpected happened. The elderly woman's eyes shifted toward him. They softened, almost as if she recognized something familiar. She lifted her hand slightly, a simple gesture, but powerful enough to stop him in place. The doctors noticed and exchanged confused glances. The son's eyebrows lifted in surprise. The delivery boy stepped closer, instinct guiding him more than thought. "Do you need something?" he asked gently. Her gaze remained steady, warm, purposeful. There was no fear in her eyes, only trust. So he placed his hand softly over hers. The room fell completely silent. The doctors watched with curiosity. The billionaire watched with disbelief. And the elderly woman breathed a little easier. A connection beyond logic. The delivery boy didn't know medical procedures. He didn't know specialized techniques. All he knew was empathy, the simple, human kind that didn't need equipment or textbooks. He spoke softly to her. "It's okay, you're not alone." Her breathing slowed, growing steadier. The tension in her face faded. Her son leaned forward, stunned at the change. One of the doctors checked her vitals again and looked up in surprise. "Her rhythm is stabilizing." The delivery boy remained calm, grounding the room with an energy nobody expected from a stranger. Something inside the elderly woman seemed to awaken, a spark of life responding to kindness rather than science. The billionaire finally asked, his voice cracking slightly, "What did you do?" The delivery boy looked up, unsure how to answer. I just listened, he said quietly. Sometimes people need someone who isn't here for a job, but just here for them. The words struck the billionaire deeply. For years he had surrounded himself with professionals, experts, advisors, everyone who served a purpose. But rarely did he allow space for simple humanity. In that moment, he understood something he had forgotten long ago. Care isn't always about equipment or qualifications. Sometimes, it's about presence. When the heart remembers, the elderly woman's eyes remained on the delivery boy, filled with gratitude. She held his hand as if he were someone she had known for years. The billionaire felt a mix of emotions, relief, amazement, humility. He had spent millions ensuring the best for his mother, yet here stood a young man who had offered something priceless without being asked. He stepped closer. Please, stay, he said softly. The delivery boy nodded. Of course. For the next few minutes, he simply stayed beside her, speaking with gentle reassurance. Her breathing became strong enough that the doctors relaxed, reassessing their earlier concerns. But the emotional healing happening in the room was even more profound. The billionaire watched as his mother's trust shifted toward a boy she had never met. And he didn't feel offended, he felt grateful, as if life had sent a reminder in the form of a bright yellow jacket. The delivery boy eventually said, I think she just needed comfort, the kind that feels real. His honesty disarmed everyone, a conversation that changed two lives. The billionaire pulled the delivery boy aside as the doctors re-examined his mother. His voice, once firm and commanding, had softened. Thank you. I don't know how to express what this means to me. You don't need to, the delivery boy replied. She just needed someone to hold space for her. The billionaire looked at him with sincere admiration. Not many people can offer that. The delivery boy shrugged lightly. Sometimes, you don't need much. Just a moment to see someone clearly. The billionaire paused, absorbing the weight of that truth. You've given me something priceless today, he said. Not just help, but perspective. The young man smiled gently, unsure how to respond. I was just delivering a package. You delivered more than that. The billionaire replied. You delivered hope, the lesson everyone needed. Before leaving, the elderly woman signaled for him again. He approached her bedside. She smiled faintly, squeezing his hand with surprising strength. Thank you, she whispered. That simple word carried more meaning than anything he had heard all day. The billionaire watched with wet eyes, humbled by a truth he could no longer ignore. Sometimes the greatest impact comes from those society overlooks. As the delivery boy left the mansion, the staff watched him with new respect. The doctors discussed the sudden improvement with open amazement, and the billionaire stood alone for a moment, reflecting deeply. He realized that wealth can provide comfort, but kindness provides healing. The aftermath. Word quietly spread through the household about the remarkable moment. The billionaire's mother continued to improve, responding positively to the renewed sense of calm in the home. Later that evening, the billionaire found the delivery boy's contact information from the package slip. Not to reward him, not to hire him, but simply to say, you reminded me of something important today, and I won't forget it. The delivery boy replied, I'm glad she's doing better. That's all that matters, and it truly was. A story worth sharing. Days later, the billionaire stood beside his mother as she rested comfortably, recovering steadily. He replayed the moment in his mind. The stillness, the connection, the unexpected arrival of someone who brought warmth back into the room. He promised himself to live differently, to see people, not by their titles or achievements, but by the kindness in their actions. Life has a beautiful way of reminding us that help can come from unexpected places. Sometimes, all it takes is one compassionate heart to do what knowledge alone cannot. If you felt touched by this story, don't forget to subscribe to Black Inside 2.0, where the smallest kindness becomes the greatest inspiration, because every story changes someone, and maybe, the next one will change you.